introduction of you, and then you can take the stage.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We are connecting and we have our people rolling in. All right, everyone. Welcome to Paulette Simmons discussion and session room. She is an amazing woman and entrepreneur, a certified professional life coach, which is CPCL, that helps people self-discover paths that lead to a healthier, stronger, and more satisfying relationships. She is actively pursuing an MS degree in clinical psychology, specializing in counseling, and she will be pressing towards her PhD. She is an author and an online course creator, and she absolutely loves what she does and seeing the reward of people being empowered, inspired, and transformed to a better version of themselves, which enhances and manifests better relationships. So without further ado, I would like to bring to the stage the amazing Paulette Simmons, and her discussion will be There is Life After Divorce and Grown Children. Yes. We need to hear this. So let me go. Take the stage.
Thank you, Tina, for that introduction. Thank you. I am so excited to be here. I thank Marty for introducing me to Win. When I first met her on another platform, she was amazing. We connected and I got here. And so I am super excited about that. And I'm definitely excited about this opportunity. Yes. So there is life. And I like to say, after 50, divorced, and grown children. Now, you don't have to keep me to the age because it could be 20, 25, 30, 35, 65, 70, 80, wherever you find yourself. There is still a greater purpose for you. And in knowing that there is a greater purpose, you don't have to stay where you are. It is nothing short of a decision. So one night I found myself laying in the bed with my then husband. And I asked a question that I had asked so many times before, previously. And the question was, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? You see, at this time, he had achieved some goals and we had made some strides. We were married then for 16 years. And it wasn't an unusual question. I had asked this question every time we would hit a milestone, hit a mark, I would ask this question. And so therefore, this particular night kind of threw me because I said, what happened that I got this answer or this response and the tone? And so surprised at that moment, but not too surprising once I really sat with it and thought about it, because little things have been happening all along. You see, I was an at-home mom who raised her children. And so I was Erin, the errand girl, and Wendy, the window washer, and, Pam, the pick up the kids and drop them off where they need to be. And then I was in the band, and then we had dance, and then we had choir. And so whatever my girls were involved in, we were heavily involved. My then husband was a truck driver, and I had my second child, and I was working as a physical therapist assistant, and started having some problems with my wrist. And so in that, I was like, well, let me go and see what this is about. So I went to the orthopedic, and he was an older doctor, and he said to me, so I'm going to tell you this. He said, how many older therapists do you really see? And I thought about it, and I said, you're absolutely right. I don't see many, right? And so he said, so you're young enough. At this time, I was 22. He said, so you're young enough to do another profession if needed. At that time, I had been doing hair since I was probably working in the shop since I was 14 at that time, but had been doing hair. I was the neighborhood girl that, the older girls would call me from outside playing to come and put perms in their hair. And I did it for $5, right? Entrepreneur in me all my life. So that's what I did. And so I thought about it and I said, well, okay, Lord, so, where am I going to go from here? And so I thought about it and I said, well, after I had my second child, before I had her, we were pregnant, and I said to the then husband, I said, well, maybe I'll stay home after she's born. And so you know how we do. We put things off. And so I went back to work after 4 months after having her, and wonderful family that helped to babysit. And 3 months later, I said, okay, I'm going to stop, just to pay a couple more bills because I had paid my bills off, making sure we were good, that I wasn't bringing no extra stress to the family or to the house. So I paid some things off. I said, well, if I just work until, just before Christmas or just right after Christmas, I'll come home then. And I didn't. And I said, okay, Lord, one more time. Let me just get through the new year. And I promise you, spring, it's it. I'm coming out of there. I'm going to come home and be with the kids. And so lo and behold, spring happened, right? And I wasn't fully convinced that I was going to leave, but my supervisor came to me, and I knew that the job had been downsizing. And so I was one of the many, right, that had left. And so I was devastated because this is my first corporate job. And so I was like, how do I go home and tell my husband that I just lost my job, that I won't be coming back to work on Monday? Because this was a Friday and they waited to the end of the day. And lo and behold, let's just fast forward it. I have not looked back. God has been amazing to me. And so I have not looked back. The universe actually spoke and answered my prayers without me even knowing then, because I was 23 years old when that happened to me. And so life went on. I was good. And I'm sorry, I was 26 years old when I got laid off from the job. Married, had my second child. And so I told the husband, I said, well, if we're going to have another one, no time to now. And then I wrote this letter at the age of 21 prior to meeting the husband. Actually, I was 20 when I wrote it, 21 when I just solidified it and found scripture and stuck it in the Bible. Not promoting any faith here, but the Lord Jesus Christ is my personal savior, and I love everything about him, and I know that my prayers are answered. So I wrote this letter, and the letter entailed, and I tell my coaching clients to do this all the time. I wrote a letter being very detailed, being very specific in what I wanted and what I was looking for and what I desired in a husband and a friend and a protector, a provider, down to me being able to be home and raise my children. And that once they were, fully in school, that I could go back to school or start my career, whatever that place found me at that time. I stayed open to do this. And so I found myself home raising my children. It was all good. I don't take anything from it. I like to say that each of them had their personal time with me, even though there's 9 years between my oldest and my middle. And so I took action, right? After this devastating divorce came years later, wasn't expecting to be, I can't even say raising my children, because at this point, my youngest was 16 when the signs had started. Well, prior to that, they had started, but didn't know it was going to lead to divorce. 16, when she was 16, I was solidified. I was like, it's definitely going to be a divorce. It was just a matter of timing, right? Because I didn't want to devastate her, because we wore the mask. We wore a great mask, he and I both. Children didn't know, family didn't know anything, but we could feel the tension. We could be out and about with family and all and be great, and get back in here and the tension, thick as ever. So I created an action plan. I said, let's put this thing into action. What is it that I need to do? So I'm going to go and see if I can share my screen. And I'm going to still chat while I do this. I said, let me see what it is that I can do to improve upon Paulette. What do Paulette need to do for Paulette? Because what I knew at this point is that no one else could do it for me, right? Ogla and someone else just talked about that balance. And for me, it wasn't just about balance. It was having peace. I needed a peace of mind, because what I knew is that's what I was raised on, a peace of mind. And so I wasn't into the back and forth. And so in that, I came up with this action plan, and I'm trying to see if I can get my screen to be shared. Let's see if I did that right. I don't think I did. But anywho, I'm going to keep going. um, I came up with an action plan. And so it says action. Take action. You have to take action because you have to start somewhere. If you don't start somewhere, you'll end up in that same place, right? So I took action. And the action was to acknowledge what was happening, what was going on, and to be honest with myself and accept it for my reality in that moment. But what I knew is that even accepting that reality, I had the potential to change the trajectory of where my life was going. And so I made a decision. And in making that decision, I allowed myself permission to move into a place that I could stay committed to me. So that's the C in action. The A is acknowledgement, acceptance, allowance. And then C is being committed. I stayed committed to me. I knew I had control, and only I had control of my life. No one else could do it for me. I had to take control. And so I took control by losing 40 pounds. Woo! Yes. And it was not the husband at that time. I actually lost 40 pounds. And so I took all the energy and I fed it back into me. Because at this point, two of my girls were out of the house already. The 16-year-old, she got to graduate early. So she was on her way out of high school at 17. And so I knew that there was going to be another purpose for my life after grown children, divorced, and being 47 at that time, right? And so that's why there's no age stickler here. And so what I did, I said, I lost this 40 pounds. How did I do it? Because I stayed committed, because I stayed consistent, because I was dedicated to doing this for me. It was a non-negotiable because I had to be balanced, heart, soul, and mind. It all had to line up for me. And so in that, I went on to the T in action, which is transition and transform. So I transformed my body on the outside, but my mind, there was a transformation that went on inside of my mind because I was willing to transition, to do something different, because the life that I knew it as was no longer. My children are grown. They're moving out. My husband, I see the divorce coming, right? Because nothing was being changed. And I could hear God saying to me, this is your blessing blocker. I know it's my story, not yours. But that's what I heard, right? And so I'm like, well, I just know I need to do everything that I need to do to stay here, to stay in this moment, until God tells me it's time to do something different. So with that, I became intentional. That's the I in action. I became very intentional on what I was doing, on what I was saying, on how I was treating people, even to now X and still. I had to be intentional no matter what someone does to you, no matter how they mishandle you. It does not matter. You have to do the right thing. Fighting fire with fire never solves anything. So in that, you have to stay intentional, even to your thoughts. Yes, we don't have control over thoughts that come, but you do have control over what you do with those thoughts, how you respond to those thoughts. Don't know if you know this information, but the more you focus on one thought, the more embedded it becomes into the brain, right? So think about that. So I always tell my clients, take that negative thought and counteract it with a positive thought. Whether it's something that someone told you when you were young, whether it's something that a spouse, significant other, parent, sister, sibling told you, whoever it was, teacher, because people can be cruel. And sometimes it's not even intentional that they're being cruel. They say things sometimes believing that it's going to help change your mind and make you do better. But for some people, it actually hinders. It hinders in that um, it becomes a stagnation in your life. It makes you stop at that place wherever they placed you. And I have another book that I'm birthing out in me called Who Lied to You and You Believed It, right? I have my first book, but that's going to be a book. Who lied to you and you believed it? Because we don't have to accept everything that someone says about us. It's not about what others think about you or feel about you. What do you feel about yourself? What do you say about you? That's what matters. That's what matters, because that's what's going to propel you to do something different in life. And so that takes me on to my being open to new opportunities. This was a new opportunity. I was open to the conversation that I had with Martha that got me here. And I'm grateful for that. I have done it my way for long enough. Will you dare to do something different so that you can get different results? Because we do know the definition of insanity, right? To continue to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that's insane, right? So you have to do something different. And so this is quite different for me, and I thank you. And so it takes us to our end, I'm sorry. And the end is the non negotiable. This thing is absolutely non negotiable. Non negotiable. I have made up in my mind, I'm going to do what I need to do. And in going through the separation and then leading to the divorce, what did I do? I lost the 40 pounds. I went back to school to finish up this master's, you see, because I was a caregiver as well to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law had a stroke in 2012, and I was working outside of the house at that time. And I still kept my job, but it was an added feature because we moved her in with us. She was paralyzed on the whole left side of her body. So she never regained mobility of that. So it became a lot. It was prepping breakfast in the morning. It was prepping her lunch, because I knew that she could only move around but so much. Thank God for my mom who was there to help. Thank God for her sister who would come over sometimes and help. I thank God for those who helped in the process, because it meant bathing her, wiping her at times in the beginning where she could not adjust because she was imbalanced. Thank you, Ogla. She was imbalanced because this wasn't something that she was used to. So literally, between me and my mom, sometimes my daughter, washing her up, giving her a bath, giving her a shower, washing her down, even before she came home, washing her down in the bed at the hospital, it became a lot. And so many times, ladies, we lose ourselves as women because we are caregivers, not just to the husband and the children, but then you have growing parents that's grown into seniorhood, right? They're getting older. Things happen. The unexpected. That was the unexpected. And so we did what we needed to do um, to take care of her. And so I say that to say, what will you do for yourself? I went back to school. And now I had to stop school that time because she had the stroke. I was a facilitator for discipleship at my church, which is a 3-year program. So once I signed up, you're committed for 3 years until that class graduate. I did that 3 terms along with my own term. So I actually facilitated for 15 years. And it became a lot. So I had to sit something down. So for me, it's God first, family second, right? So I stopped school that time to help take care of mother-in-law. I still did my classes with the church. I still worked outside the house. I was still a mom. I was still a wife, still a friend, right? And so I just decided that when my children were all out of the house, going through this divorce, I said, I'm going to go back to school. I said, okay, what are we going to do? And I remember it was September of 2016, and I wrote out a plan. And the plan has gone into effect. And so that's what I teach people to do. Create a plan, write down things, prioritize them. What is it that you want to accomplish first? Because there is greater purpose in you. You still have a purpose. there is still much purpose in you. And sometimes it's finding ourselves first. So I have an authentically you class that I teach. Who are you? Not who do others say you are? Who do you say you are? And then that leads us into discovering your purpose. And then we'll map that out. So we'll talk about that later. And so that's what I did for myself. So here I am now. I am done all of my coursework for my master's. I did it in 3 years. It was a very intense course. It was 90 credits. I had not ever heard of a master's with 90 credits. I said, say what? But the Lord knew to hide it from me, right? Because if I had known prior to, I probably would have switched it just a little bit. That in part, specializing in counseling probably would not have made it. But I was already 50% through my program and there was no turning back. Because why? It was a non-negotiable. It was a non-negotiable. And so I couldn't turn back. And so now I'm sitting here doing my intern hours. And so I am looking June to receive my degree. And yes, I will be going on to the PhD and solidifying that as well. But I'm grateful to my process, to this journey in life. I take nothing from it. I add nothing to it. It has been what it's been, but it's going to be what it's going to be. And it's going to be great and wonderful and marvelous, just as your life is. It's just making a decision and taking account for action. And the action is acknowledging, acceptance, aspiring to do more, and allowing yourself permission to do more. And then it takes you into your C, staying committed. Take control of your life because no one can do it but you. And then it's the T of sitting in your transition, allowing yourself to transform into who you've been called to be so that you can serve on a greater level, so you can really live and walk in your purpose. And then there's the I of staying intentional and irrefutable, meaning there's no denying here. It is going to come to pass. You are a blessing to someone else. It's up to you to recognize that. And then there's the O, staying open for opportunities as they come. No longer being afraid, no longer procrastinating, no longer denying yourself of what you desire and what you deserve. Because there is greatness in you. And then the N, the non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable. For me, it was do or die. That's what I kept hearing. This is do or die. This is the season to do school or not. This is the season that you're going to step out on faith, no money, and do what you need to do. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I took the chance on me. Because if you don't take the chance on you, who will? So I say all of that to say, there is greater purpose in you. Our children do not define us. Our marriages, significant others, relationships do not define us. Your job does not define you. I'm here today only because I aspire and I am encouraged to just touch someone's life that they can be affected or affected by what I have said, that they can go and change not just their own life, not just their own family's lives, but their community, their neighborhood, their culture. It's generational for me. My motto is changing lives and leaving a legacy. That's what I set out to do. That's what my grandmother did. And so I'm so grateful to my upbringing. I'm so thankful to that. And so I'm thankful for being here today. I am Paulette Simmons. I did write a book, the first book. I'm going to just advertise there a little bit. Yes, the transparency theory, right? The transparency theory. You can go to my website. My website is www.livinglifestrong.com. You can register your email there. You can get the book there. If you purchase the book, there is a free offer to get free relationship tips. So I give tips on how to have a healthy or build a healthy relationship, as well as ways that you can ruin a relationship, right? Because we all have some baggage at times, but it's learning to control um, your past and what has happened and letting go. And I am thankful for this opportunity. I have been grateful to be here. I hope that I have touched someone's heart, made someone think, sparked a uh, different perspective uh, in being here with you today. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much, Paulette, for sharing your story and transparency on your journey with relationships, even dealing with weight. So, first of all, we want to congratulate you on losing 40 pounds. I mean, because as women, we need to give her applause. That is not easy. I mean, a man can lose weight like this, but, but women, it takes us a while to be able to lose that amount of weight. So, the question from the audience is, uh what positivity why is positivity so important?
Positivity is so important because it actually, I believe, it helps to create the trajectory of which direction your life goes. If you're not positive, if you stay negative, you will stay in a negative place. You will become stagnant. You will stay in negative environments. You will continue to allow negativity to enter your life. You will never get the relationships that you're looking for, whether it's business partners, friends, spouses, whatever, significant others. You will never get there being negative. Negativity, look, think about it like this. When you're charging a battery, if ever you had to charge a car, you take that positive and that negative, or you plug in a socket and it's not, you're plugging something that's not quite right. You get that little shock. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what the negativity does. It gives you that little shock. With a positive energy, it flows. It flows from heart to heart, breast to breast, mind to mind. It ignites you, it engages you, it gives you energy. You can tell when you're around positive people.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a big difference, a huge difference. Positivity will allow you to think and grow prosperous.
That is indeed powerful. Positivity allows you to think. That is a great affirmation to take into 2022 on if you're in a relationship or if you're in a business relationship, physical relationship, and it's not allowing you to think, then you need to change that because that's not positivity, that's confusion. That's
Yes.
confusion. So thank you so much for sharing with us and giving us helpful tips on what we can do in order to make our life better. And your conversation presentation just went along with the whole theme of what WYN conference been speaking about throughout this event about women empowerment. So thank you for exemplifying that empowerment and sharing ways in which we can continuously empower ourselves leading on in to 2022.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. So, what we're gonna do? We're gonna keep this thing going. We have another speaker, so I want you to hit that arrow, yes, over in the left corner, and I want you to join the new session with our next featured guest. You will see it on the schedule, and I'll see you in the other room. Bye.